Good morning. It's Sunday morning, and we got the panel together. It's gonna be a great show. Sometimes we need those couple extra seconds. I had to actually restart my computer, left it off all night, started it up, and first thing I see is a panda on screen. And oh my god, it's like pandemonium or something. I don't know what's going on. Anything that can go right is going wrong, and anything can go wrong. One thing is, I have my cup of coffee. I hope you guys do too. If not, hopefully get something to wet and whistle. Corey, I think you're waiting for breakfast.
Yep, I'm
So,
waiting.
yeah, breakfast is a good portion of your day. It's a good way to start out the day. Evo, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Ready to talk Niners. I'm switching over right now from my phone to my computer.
All right. Bear with us all. We have a little echo or a little static or some mouses or going on. Everybody's switching devices, and we're going to get this started. So Sunday is a great day to just have a good conversation where we can just be friends with each other, and sometimes friends argue, sometimes friends agree. But what we're going to get into, and we'd like your opinion too from the chat, this outcoming season, the outlook, everybody wants us to, we want to finish with the Super Bowl, of course, right? Because if you don't finish with the Super Bowl, then what's the point, right? So instead of just saying, oh, we want to talk about the quarterback or we want to talk about the Super Bowl, let's talk about some fun stuff like CMC. Would you rather CMC get 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, or would you rather see Kittle score, Bosa score, sack like 20, get 24 sacks? We're going to come off with some weird questions like that. So, before we get too far into it, we got to talk about it a little bit. We'll talk about it now. The Robbie Gold situation. How much is that? Like, how much are you guys really buying that? Is that just something somebody's writing now? Because what I read a couple months ago was he give his blessing for Jake Moody, and we'd all touched a little bit on it yesterday about him actually training Jake Moody. So it was to me like the writings on the wall. It's like the Niners aren't going to re-sign you. You're giving them like the endorsement, the blessing to go sign him. And now you're going to come out and say, well, they didn't even offer me a contract.
You said
Okay.
that?
That's what Matt Mayoko's article was the other day. I'm going to bring your other one in. I'm going to remove this one. All right, perfect. Yeah, that's what he said. I like what Damian Lee said right here. Damian Lee brings up a good point. Robbie is hurt. We moved on so fast, and I agree. We really didn't. And shout out to everybody in the chat real quick. We'll scroll through. We have Mr. John J. 49ers Ultimate Report. David Corona. We have Bebop Jones. We got Tony Paul, Carcat, and we got Damian Lee. The force is strong with him. He's awesome. Thank you for being here, Damian. And David Corona, he's saying, "What's up, Corey?" So thank you, David Corona, for coming. So again, let's kind of talk about this. Corey, what do you think? Did we move too fast on Robbie Gold, or did we kind of decide this from last year?
I think they just were finished with him. He was hurt. He can't kick it far no more. They need somebody to kick it real far. You know, and somebody young. They thinking of the future right now.
A
They
cheaper future.
cheaper future. Right now they can't. We couldn't pass up on Jake Moody getting somebody good. See, we can't keep two kickers on the field. You know,
Right.
so they said, let's buy our ways down go. Because if we have to sign them, we got to keep them. You know, and we can't keep Jake Moody on in the background, like putting him on the press squad and hoping he would last. Somebody will pick him up.
So, Corey, the Jake Moody situation, I'm gonna ask Steve about this too. I just kind of think this is weird with them trying to go cheap at quarterback. Do you think them going cheap at kicker is like Moneyball situation?
Say it again, you were breaking up. I didn't hear it.
Okay, so with the kicker situation, and the quarterback situation, how they're trying to go cheap at the position, and they're not trying to pay $1 billion, whatever, in the salary cap. With them drafting a kicker, they're going to pay this kicker cheap. And by them drafting him potentially really in the 4th round, be cheaper. Do you think they're playing like a Moneyball situation with the position?
I think so. They say, hey, we could go look cheaper and then get our future kicker right now. Go young. Stay away from old. Hey man. That's right now, right thing to do. If I was a GM, I would do it right now. I'll say, I'm sorry, Robbie Goes. I wish you well in your new journey. But we're going to get a little younger this time. Thank you for everything you did for us. We hope wish you well. Hope everything plays out right for you.
What do you think, Steve-O? Do you think it's similar to like what the Oakland A's did with their pitcher situation? But now they're not doing it just with quarterback; they're doing it with kicker too.
Honestly, I forgot the A's existed, but I think they're the same thing. Like, look, if we made 50 grand a year, all right, 50 grand a year, none of us probably make. But if you did that, how many years would it take for a 3 million a year kicker? You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time. 3 million is a lot for a kicker. So I believe, last year, the Super Bowl was won on a kick. I don't know the guy's name, but they are important. But you know what I mean? You got to pay your cost somewhere. We already have basically every position filled at the top spot. You got to pay your cost somewhere. And if kickers are where it's at, kickers are where it's at. I mean, like, you know, 3 million a year. How many years would I have to work to make 3 million? This guy's making it in a year. Whoever it is, So if you want to go cheaper, I'm okay with that.
Harrison Butker is the Kansas City Chiefs kicker.
Who?
Harrison Butker. Butker. I'll put it in the chat.
And he's not even known, right? He's not even known. Most people don't even remember that the game was won. The only reason I remember because I've seen it on a replay and I was watching it,
Yeah. It's weird because by then going cheaper at the position in potentially 4 years when his contract does come up, they could go and just get somebody else again, especially if he's not necessarily like the best or whatnot. And it almost seems like that's potentially what they can do here with quarterback too, regardless if it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy's like he's very, very cheap at this point. So if they do keep him on the team for 1 or 2 more years, they're able to pay all these guys. And basically, I think that what they're doing is they're trying to push this money for Bosa. I really think that's what they are been planning to do. Go ahead, Steve.
Not only that, but like I would probably remember the kid's name if he missed it more than I did if he made it. Right? I would know his name if he missed it.
Hey, Raphael, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're here this morning, but we'll definitely be praying for you. Sorry about that. It's no joke. No joke. Everybody could take
Where's
a.
McNiner at?
He said he's on his way. He's on his way. So he'll be here. But got a pop in chat. Everybody's here. But Steven, do you think that's what they're trying to do by them, going cheap at a position like kicker and quarterback? They're able to pay everybody the way they are. And do you think this is going to work out for them at a long-term position? Because just as soon as this quarterback becomes of age or comes to the season where it's time to be paid, now what? Do we pay that quarterback and now we don't pay other people, or now we're taking money back from people? Because it's like, oh, we can restructure people's contract. Well, we agreed on this much money, and now you're coming to me later and you're asking me to take this much, or you're going to give me a guarantee, or now you're going to give me incentives. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing, and I think we're being pretty smart about it. I like Lynch and Shanahan together. They're solid. They're not, their jobs aren't on the line. Look, when when you think about everything, they're pretty smart about everything. They think of things down the road. Like Trent Williams is different plays, right? And then Trent Williams is like, oh, we just put in 60 plays. How many teams are actually doing that or changing plays week by week? Not a lot. That's why they call Kyle a genius, right? Most people don't see that if you're just watching the game. I mean, who does that? I don't know of any other teams that do that because I don't follow any other teams. But who does that? Nobody's doing that, right? I don't think anybody's doing that. Could be wrong, but who knows? And I mean, you like every team has 2 to 3 holes. Where do you want your holes to be? So everybody during the draft was like, this and that. I'm like, well, no. Well, you're gonna have holes. Where do you want your holes to be? Do you want it to be at right guard? Do you want to be at tackle, set running back? Where do you want them to be? Because we're gonna have holes. Every team has freaking holes. We have the least amount of holes, and then we started building depth. And I just hope our depth is better at our line than I think it is. But
Wow. Yeah, you're right, because the only position we were at weak last year, was what, maybe defensive line, because we didn't have somebody on the other side of Bosa, and kicker. And now this year we have a new year. Drake Jackson's bigger. He's improved. And then we have a bunch of guys that also is coming in from other teams that are going to try to make a name for themselves their last couple of years in the season, in the league. So with this, I can't really see how many other holes we had last year, other than maybe corner for a short period of time, the defensive line, and right tackle. So right now they think they got the offensive line covered. We'll see, but yeah, that's a good point. See what Damian Lee said. Yeah, but you can't pay everybody when the contract comes up. I like how Belichick did it when the Patriots, when Brady was there, just use players up until it's time to it's over. I agree. At a certain point, you're just going to have to say, kind of like Bill Walsh did in the end. There's and he brought that comment up earlier. He'd get rid of you, maybe a year early. Sure, we're fans and we want to see these guys retire on the team and be here forever, but sometimes we just have to say goodbye. So,
and that's totally true. But you got to remember one thing: like, it is a business. Everybody knows that, but that also affects how people want to come to your company. You know what I mean? If I see that happening a lot, I'm not going to want to join the Niners. You know what I mean? And especially you already got the income tax or the state tax I have to deal with as well. So I'm making like a third less of there or whatever it is. And then now I have to deal with like my last 2 years. I'm probably going to get kicked out because, it's a business.
Hey, so here's a good, maybe not good idea, but I have an idea. How come because Tesla kind of does this for their employees. If you want to stay on a property and sleep, like in an RV or something like that, they have space available for people to sleep all night, and basically all week at the parking lot. And this is in Fremont, California, very close to Santa Clara. So how come the Niners don't come up with some kind of situation where they can either buy like a housing row, like a housing track or something like that, or maybe just build a bunch of new housing, or maybe build an apartment complex for the players to actually live in rent free, instead of these guys having to live in a hotel and it being out of their pocket. If you choose not to live there, then you can go pay rent somewhere. But for some of these players that are only making 100 grand and stuff, like I think Brock Purdy had a roommate, if I'm mistaken,
He had two. He had two.
so would you be opposed to the 49ers or the NFL, like coming up with like a housing program for these guys? Or is that going too far? Because, like guy's making $1 million. Now, is he not, eligible for a housing, like, I don't know.
One of them was Alex Gutierrez, which never starts for some reason. He's probably too tall. And another guy, I can't remember who it is right now, but he had two roommates. Like, it's not easy to find a house right now. Like, if I was to sell and like I was talking to you, like a couple days to find a place, a month to find a place where I live. They're building stuff all the time, but it's not, it's not like, it's hard to do. So I don't know about, like, that would be cool if they had a program, because even if you're not a top dog on the Niners, you're still going to have a hard time finding a place. From what I hear, it almost takes like a year in San Francisco before I can find a place. I don't know.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like those players that's, living in a hotel, Niners should buy the hotel then, and then just make it out, something. But
and I guess Robbie Gold, I was kind of like, why'd you live in a hotel for so long? But I guess it was kind of like he chose to take that route versus actually, buying a place.
I know California is very expensive to live, and I know our taxes are and stuff. And it just came to, talking with you guys recently, that I found out that when you go to different states and you're playing in that city, that's how they pay you for that game. So it's per game, per state situation on how you're getting taxed. So that's very confusing. I do my taxes myself, and I would hate to have to do something like that and figure out all those numbers. But yeah, that's wow. Maybe I'll write an email to the 49ers and see if they like that. Be like, hey, you guys like that? So
You like that? Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want no Kirk Cousins on my shit.
oh man, I got a bad feeling about next season. What about you? We don't have to say his name, but I got a bad feeling, regardless of how. Okay, so here's my question. This is a fun question. Would you rather? I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. But I got a bad feeling, Steve-O. I definitely got a bad feeling. I hope we go pretty far in the playoffs.
I wouldn't be. I don't know. I wouldn't be. I don't know what I think of the guy. I think he's another Alex Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo. They're just mids. You know what I mean? I don't think we don't need a good quarterback. We really do just need a mid, and everybody's all it's like Dink and Dunk 49er, like just a game manager. That's probably all we need. And like if we look at the past 10 quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl, not the quarterback. Everybody's gonna look at the quarterbacks, but I'm like, look at the coaches. If you look at the coaches, the last 10 Super Bowls, if you want to go down them or not, I don't care. But
Yeah.
the only one that I don't think is valid is probably the Eagles with the Peterson. And that was because the dude was straight up on the play. His coaches or his QB is telling him, let's run the Philly special. And he's like, you want to run the Philly special? And they did. And they won it, right? Other than that, it could have been a different subject, right? So I don't consider him besides him, every other quarterback, you can get away with having a mediocre quarterback with a decent above average or whatever you want to call it coach, right? We should have had a couple, right? We never lost a Super Bowl. We should have had another Super Bowl. And you could, Kyle Shanahan could totally win it with a mediocre, if you will, quarterback. Like, because look at the last 10 quarterbacks, right? Or coaches. Did you bring it up? Or
Yes, I got it right here. I got it right here.
Right, cool.
Okay, so last year was the Chiefs.
Andy Reid, he was mediocre half his career, right? Fair enough.
Yeah, last year was Chiefs and the Eagles, and that's really funny that Andy Reid couldn't get to the Super Bowl with the Eagles and win it because he did get him there with Donovan McNabb and To, but they lost it against the Patriots. So
And Brian Westbrook was a dog too. I mean,
yeah. And then the next Super Bowl, let's see what the next one. Las Vegas and Los Angeles Rams, right, and the Bengals, and that one's really that would have been a weird Super Bowl. Us playing the Bengals again.
Pay for what you get for.
Yep. And it's really hard to say if we wouldn't have had Matt Stafford last year that we wouldn't have won that Super Bowl. The Rams wouldn't have had a quarterback. They wouldn't have. Who would they have got last year? Jimmy G. No, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay and the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is a game that I kind of feel like this was the NFL showing Kansas City that we might have messed up with the 49ers and you, but we're going to balance the scales right here because there was a lot of calls in that game. And Tampa Bay and Kansas City, and I don't know, like Tampa Bay, sure, they just blew them out of the water, so
but I mean, the coach was Arian. What's his name?
Arian Foster. Arian. Oh, geez.
My eyes look all black. I got to get off camera.
Bruce Arian.
Bruce Arian. Yeah, he's a good coach, right? He's top of the line, even though he's only won one. He's a top-notch coach.
Well, he helped build the Steelers too, and I think he helped build the Patriots, the Colts with Peyton Manning. So he's been on multiple Super Bowl teams. So he's definitely a good coach. But him and Tom Brady didn't get along. He had a really good team before Tom Brady comes in, and sure, Tom Brady brings in a lot of offensive players and stuff, but they had a good defense. They said Jameis Winston couldn't see. That's why he was throwing so many interceptions. I don't know if that's true, but he did have eye surgery. So
yeah, he had LASIK, and who there was like 3 or 4 stories to that. I don't know which one to believe, but I do know that he's a good coach. He went upper management. We'll see.
So we just kind of touched on it, the Chiefs and the Niners. I think that game was kind of rigged a little bit. Just kind of didn't seem right. I want to really talk about it.
It is what it is.
This game right here, the Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams, that was February 19th, 2019.
Belichick. I mean, he gets rid of everybody early, which he should do.
Is that right? The Rams went to the Super Bowl before us, I guess, and then we went the following year. Wow. Okay. Did they? Wow. Okay, I'm going to write this down, and we'll go over it again. Then the next Super Bowl, Philadelphia Eagles and the Patriots, I believe. Yeah.
Patriots. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of I think it's Peterson. I don't know.
Doug Peterson. Patriots and the Eagles.
So Doug Peterson, like the coach, the QB, the backup QB, sure said, "Let's run the Philly special." He's like, "You want to run it?" And they won it. You know what I mean? If the QB didn't do that, maybe they don't win it, right? Probably. Who knows? But so I'm not sold on him yet. So I'm gonna let that one slip as a undetermined.
Yeah. Then we have the Broncos. And let's see, who is the Broncos? I just clicked back to see if my page is going to be easier to read. So, yeah, that's the Philly special game. That was a weird game. Again, I think that was kind of maybe the refs trying to I don't think they wanted Tom Brady to win every Super Bowl either. I don't think he should have either. Super Bowl, Denver Broncos against Carolina Panthers. And I think this is the game where let's bring Corey back in.
Denver won, right?
Yeah, Denver won. This is the one where who was the coach? The coach was doesn't say right here. But the Panthers, remember the Panthers went to the Super Bowl and then they didn't dive on the football. Cam Newton stood there and he hesitated and then that was a bad. Beating them 24-10. The championship was determined February 7th, 2016 at Levi Stadium. The Panthers had a 15-1 regular season record, making it a Super Bowl. So you can be the best team and still not win it.
And the Broncos coach was who?
Oh, who was it? Oh, it was the guy with the white hair. The guy with the white hair. Oh my god. He was the wasn't now I can't look that up right now. You'd have to look that one up, Steve. It's
Because that's my point. Is the coaches matter more than the Q? Everybody always wants to talk. The QB wins the Super Bowl. Well,
yeah.
you can win a Super Bowl with a mediocre quarterback if you have a above average coach. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's why I'm bringing up, like, remember, I don't remember all the coaches.
I think his last name was Smith. I'm gonna look it up right now. I got the page open.
I've looked it up the last few days. I just can't remember off the top of my head because I was actually up before 9 o'clock, so I made the show. What's up, Corey?
Hello.
Steve. Oh man, I know it's on the tip of my tongue right now. I can say it.
Who y'all talking about?
So the last 10 everybody always wants to talk, or you have to have a quarterback to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like, well, if you look at, let's just say, last 10 Super Bowl winners, you can look at the quarterbacks, easy. But I'm thinking it ain't just about the quarterback. If you look at the Super Bowls, it's about the coaches. If you have a mediocre coach, you could win with or if you have a good coach, you can win with a mediocre quarterback. Like Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson for the Eagles, I would say, is probably the only guy on this list of 10, the last Super Bowls, that probably is mediocre and shouldn't have won it.
Gary Kubiak.
Oh yeah, and he has a lot of ties with the NFL. He's got like two brothers or something, or dads, whatever, that's been in the NFL for a long time.
So, the next Super Bowl is New England versus the Seahawks.
And Seahawks won that one?
No, the Seahawks lost.
The Seahawks won the last 10 years, and Pete Carroll's I'm not a big fan of, but
they won against the Broncos.
Yeah,
the Broncos. But when they played the next year, they tried to do what the Niners did, and they just tried to throw the ball in the end zone. And the Patriots, Malcolm Butler, I think it was, I'm not sure.
Yep.
He jumped in front, and that was it. Russell Wilson should give the ball to beast mode. That's why Joe always, shout out to Joe Stevens, always wears the hat, run the ball.
Joe Stevens sucks. Joe Stevens sucks.
No, that's my boy.
No, I'm unsubscribing to him this week. He sucks.
Oh man.
Hey, if I don't get my pack in 3 months, you're done, Ski. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah, so the next game was let's see, next Super Bowl, Seattle Seahawks and the Broncos. That's what we were just talking about, and it was a 43-8. Wow, that's like us beating Denver 55-10 or something like that.
Yep.
That's
55-10. That number is engraved in my brain with the old Denver Broncos logo.
Yeah, so that's crazy. So yeah, I got more of them if we want to go past the 10. Baltimore Ravens, 49ers.
But I mean,
right,
they're all really good coaches, right? They're all really good coaches. It's not just don't look past the QBs. They're all really good coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe Doug Peterson. I'm not. Other people may disagree, but I think Doug Peterson is a splash in the pan guy. But other than that, they're all. You can do it with a decent. I mean, yeah, they do have good quarterbacks, but you can do it with a decent coach, right?
Right.
Or am I wrong? I don't know.
Well, so like the argument's been made, the NFL's changed and stuff like that. The rules have changed, so they're dictating it's going to be a pass league. So now you have to have corners that cover and can run really fast, but they're not allowed to touch. So and then with that, you lose people who can tackle. And now it just seems like the whole line, everything's changing. So running backs aren't needed anymore. Fullbacks are like going in the past. But if you look at it, the Ravens won a Super Bowl. The Ravens won a Super Bowl how? Running. And then their next Super Bowl, they ran it on how? Pass interference. He dropped back there, that big old quarterback. Who's the quarterback? It's Flacco. He'd throw the ball deep to Torrey Holt, or Torrey Smith, and Torrey Smith would jump up real high and come down with the yellow flag every time. So then you got the best kicker out there, and he could just come in and kick the ball. But they had a good running back at the time too. I don't know what his name is. He's the one who punched his girlfriend in the elevator, or his wife.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Ray Rice. And they had a good running game. They had good tight end. They had good wide receivers, so they scored a lot of points. When you get that much of advantage just because of penalties. So I'm gonna bring John Jay in real quick, and then we'll continue.
Allegedly.
Is this the real John
allegedly. It wasn't allegedly, but I really like that guy. You know what I mean? I wish they would have given him another shot. I know it is what it is, but I was thinking about him last night for some reason that he popped into my brain, and I was like, man, I really like that guy.
Good
I don't know.
morning,
I
John
like
Jay.
guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what team you're on. I like certain players in the sport. So, John Jay.
Good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning, John Jay.
Morning, Corey, Steve-O, Brian.
Hey, everybody. Hey, John. All right, so we're just going over a bunch of fun things this morning. So the next game that we're talking about, next Super Bowl was the 49ers. We just passed that one, and we had stopped and started talking like, do you need a good quarterback or a good coach, or does it really matter? Because I think some of those times, like if Peyton Manning didn't go to the Broncos don't win that Super Bowl. That's just that fact.
Peyton Manning did 50 after a surgery. He had 55 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Come on.
If he would have went to the Broncos don't win the Super Bowl. If he would have went to the Dolphins or would have went to the Niners, those other teams that year would have won. That's just what it is, So I don't think you necessarily have to have both, but you have to have one that's overcompensating the other, So, and if you can't have one that can work with the other, I think you're not going to have any room for success. So,
Send me the link.
right now my panel is almost to the point. I'm gonna just keep it small today. So if we're gonna do something here in the future, CG, we'll try to do it together. But for right now, we're just gonna keep it because I have a couple people that are waiting to come on, and I'm hoping they come on. So I want to just keep a small panel for right now. But I appreciate you being here. All right. So the next game is we talked about the Niners and the Niners and the Ravens. We talked about the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Ravens. I'm passing up. Now we're at the Giants. So the Giants played the Patriots, and this is another Eli Manning game, 21-17. How come it's like every time, it's Eli Manning playing against the Patriots, he's the only one who can be like a Patriot slayer.
That was the catch with the freaking helmet catch.
Yep.
I mean, come on. How impossible is that? And the coach was Tom Coughlin. I'm not big on that guy.
Man, I still remember that play. I was watching it, and Eli Manning had 3 opportunities to get sacked, and he's not the most mobile. He escaped it again, and as he was throwing it, and got hit, and the ball, like everyone thought it was intercepted, and then the ball landed on the helmet, and he just put his hands on catch.
That was a great catch. It's just, what are the chances that happens again?
But it shows you even the worst quarterbacks who are not mobile, when they're forced out of the pocket, Eli Manning showed, in the most important game of the season, that he could escape and move, and that's why I've always said this, that a quarterback needs to be able to learn how to move just in case in that situation. But I'm going to digress.
Let's go around the table. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? John Jay.
YTC will kill me, so I'm going to go yes. No, but seriously, I've actually had discussions with a bunch of people about Eli Manning. He has a He has the same touchdown interceptions, exactly. He was always like an up and down
Like,
quarterback.
he has the same touchdowns, interceptions as who?
No, like so he has so in his stats, his touchdowns and his interceptions are almost identical. So basically, like I think he has
To
like
who?
over close to 300 touchdowns and close to 300 interceptions. Anyway, I gotta go look at the numbers. I know I'm wrong, but his numbers are almost identical. His win loss in the regular season is identical. His playoffs are the reasons why his overall record is above 500. But he was a 500 quarterback. But just like everyone, when you get those Super Bowls, that's all that matters. So he was a great quarterback. And I've said this to YTC. If he had a good defense, he probably would have won more titles, in my opinion. But he's a good quarterback. He'll probably be put in the Hall of Fame. That's how I see it. Does he deserve it? That's always a topic of debate. But he'll go in the Hall of Fame. Don't know when. I don't know if it's the first ballot or if he has to wait, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. But he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Corey
I
Sleeping
think.
Davis.
Huh?
Corey Sleeping Davis.
I'm not sleeping. Yeah, I think Eli's a Hall of Famer. He could be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like I believe.
He has a
I
cool
don't see him keeping out, staying out. He might not go this year, but he might go another year. Because right now it's time for Roger Craig to go to Hall of Fame.
I don't know. Apparently, I picked Roger Craig not going yesterday because Platform thinks I'm racist. So we're gonna go with that. What do you think, Cole?
Well, first off, I don't like that. I don't think Platform thinks you're racist, and I think he's giving you a hard time. Regardless, I think he's just chopping up with you a little bit. But as far as the whole, Eli Manning, I kind of touched on it yesterday. I think he's going in because of the rings. I think it's easier for a quarterback to go into the Hall of Fame than any other position. And I think when you do have the Super Bowl rings, and obviously, the guy stood up there and took, hit after hit against us in that Super Bowl, that NFC Championship game. That definitely he deserved that, to get up there and actually win the Super Bowl after that. I mean, that's awesome. So, shout out to him, and his fan base. But go ahead, Corey.
I have a question.
All right.
How many kickers are in the Hall of Fame?
I could Google that. I don't know.
I mean, I know the Giants had JPP and Michael Strahan, off the top of my head. JP, I guess 3, you call them 3 fingers, but
No.
he was pretty good. Pretty good guy. That's pretty good line,
Mhm.
But I just can't see this guy going into the Hall of Fame. Like I don't see it. It irks me if he makes it in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I thought the Giants had a pretty decent, defense. I thought that's why they kept Eli in most games. They kept him in those Super Bowls for sure, but they didn't have like the top. I don't think forever, but they did have Strahan. They had like you just said,
They had the first hybrid like defense from what I remember.
Who's that corner that they had who was really good? I forgot his name.
Prince? I don't know. They had the hybrid defense. From what I remember, it was the first you can rotate players in any position.
I know because I actually had this conversation a year ago, and we were looking at Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, and they had the exact identical records. Like Eli Manning had an 8-8 season, 7-9, 2 6-10 seasons, and then finally had a winning record, and then finished his career with a losing record. You go with Phillip Rivers. He and Eli Manning have the same identical records. After Tomlinson and the defense left, he was a 500 quarterback, and then he went like 5 years in a row with a losing record. The difference is that Eli Manning had 2 rings, and Phillip Rivers, in my opinion, maybe I'm just biased, I always thought he was a better quarterback. And
I
I get a lot of
I like-
pushback from, New York Giants fans who, call me delusional, but I got to be completely honest because, Phillip Rivers, had to carry a lot of those games during this time. And I remember one time they won the division when they were 8-8. So,
I liked Rivers.
so
He's obviously better in the sack, but still, I like him.
now he had the weirdest throwing motion, the way he threw the football. But
Hello, David.
I liked Philip Rivers. I thought he was athletically. I thought he was athletically better than Eli Manning. He didn't have the same name, and the NFL royalties that kind of backed his name up. But I thought Philip Rivers was the better quarterback. He did have a weird, funky throwing mechanics. Good morning, David McKnight. Thank you for joining.
I personally, I see Steve O's point. I mean, he has 9 kids, so he's got to be good in the sack.
Well, no, apparently he has 10 on the way. When I heard
Oh, really?
McNider always finds a way.
so
to
he's
make
good
it
in the he's good in the sack for sure. And I think he's a good coach too. I heard he's a good coach, high school level, anyways.
So, there's another question. I know, where Robbie go? Anybody think, yep, Robbie go make the Hall of Fame?
No.
Sure.
It's really hard for a kicker to get in.
Yep.
I mean, with he does have the accolades, but at the same time, it's like you have to be Morton Anderson, and play till you're like 46 or 47 or whatever he did to actually, get enough time to be in if you're a kicker.
Yeah.
Seems like.
And that's the thing about the NFL that, like they really like, and, I got my own opinions, but there are kickers that should be in the Hall of Fame because I know there's only one punter who played for the Raiders. I think his name was Ray Guy, is the only punter in the NFL. And there have been a lot of good punters, but for some reason, you got to be a position player, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, or defensive position player.
I mean, I would say yes, but on the other hand, like John Jay just said, like who's he going to be going against? Quarterbacks from 5 years from now. Who's he going to be going against? 5 years quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. You know what I mean? Like it's stacked against them.
I know. And then I talked about, I don't know who I told, but I talked about this. There was a Cowboys player who played in the late 60s all the way to the late 70s. I think his name was Michael Pearson. And every year they would show him on ESPN, and he would always get passed up. He will get passed up. And then one day, his granddaughter posted on Instagram him like getting so angry, like why does the NFL hate me? And he said some things that I don't think the NFL has any issues with him because he was a good player. And then the league caved in, and he waited like I want to say like 20 years, and he finally got put in because of that little viral video. But I do agree that there are players that should not wait like he did. And again, I cannot stand the Cowboys. And I looked at his career. He was a really good wide receiver during an era where they ran the football. Like at the time, those were good receiving numbers at that era. So there are a lot of players that should be in the NFL, and I do think that there should be kickers and punters who deserve it. Not just put the kickers and punters just because people want that. They have to deserve it, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're right. It was Oakland Raiders Ray Guy. That's the only punter. We've talked about him a couple times. He's a really good punter from 70s to the 80s. Played for the Raiders. And then here's our four. There's only 4 kickers in the Hall of Fame. McNiner with the facts. I mean, straight out of the gate. Morton Anderson. I'm not going to even try to say the next guy's name. I think it's John Stooner Robert. Then it's George Bland. George Blandon, he was a Raider kicker, I believe. His foot was cut off. he had like half a foot in the front.
Punters
Like,
make a
they-
difference, like in field position. You know what I mean? That changes the freaking game. You know what I mean?
I love
It-
punters.
they don't get credit for it, but you change their field position, it changes the whole game, not just one series. It'll change the whole game. You know what I mean?
Well, like I had a classmate who was a punter in my high school, so I'm a little bit of a soft spot. And I'm not saying he was like an NFL kicker, but when he would kick the ball, like he would kick it as high as he could, as high to allow me to like get down there, because like I'm pretty quick. That's probably the only good thing I am. But besides all of that, I'm trash at everything. But I was really quick, so he would kick it as high as he could, the hang time, and he would always practice that after school, and we became good friends. Don't know what he's doing right now, but punters do matter, because like when you kick that as high as you can, you allow your gunners to go down there to get that tackle easily. But because they say, oh, all he does is just kick a ball, doesn't do nothing, and Pat McAfee would disagree. He would tackle people. So shout out to Pat McAfee.
I mean, there is kickers and punters that take it to their heart and literally like will lay you out. There's not a lot of them, but some guys will just come up and just put their shoulder into you. But you don't have to do that. You're already getting paid $300,000, whatever. You know what I mean? But these guys are like literally like, I'm the last tackle. I'm the last guy on the defensive line, or on the defense, and they put a hurt to people. You don't have to have that mindset, but some people do.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, George Blandon, he had half a foot. They he had a square in front of it. He had a weird shoe, and some people say he had an advantage of it because it was kind of like hidden with a sledgehammer. But that's crazy. Okay, so let's go to the next Super Bowl. We just talked about the 2007 Super Bowl. Let's drop down to 2006. Pittsburgh Steelers. No, I'm sorry. We just talked about the 2008 Super Bowl. So now we're going to talk about the 2007. Indianapolis Colts against Chicago. And the Colts won 29-17.
Ooh, that was a good Super Bowl.
Who were the coaches?
It doesn't
Lovie
say
Smith
here.
and Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy. That was a good Super Bowl, not just the significance of the Super Bowl. Yeah, but that was a good Super Bowl because it explained how you win a Super Bowl. So the Bears had the best defense that year, and their quarterback was garbage. He had 26 touchdowns, 26 interceptions.
Was
They made a
quarterback
Super Bowl.
Kyle Orton, or was it who was it?
I think it was Rex Grossman.
Yeah, Rex Grossman, number 8.
So, and Devin Hester, that was his rookie year. He had a good year. I don't know how many returns he had for a touchdown, but he had a monster year returning the football. But Peyton Manning was always like struggling in the playoffs, and he finally got past Tom Brady. And he was a really good quarterback, but they had a really good defense. It's just that the Bears, defense. And I remember when I was a kid, I was arguing, the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl. Trust me. And I said, I think Indianapolis is going to win because their quarterback did not throw 26 interceptions, but Peyton Manning can never win the big one. So the way you win a Super Bowl, I learned that Super Bowl that you need a good quarterback, not the flashy, a good quarterback, but a good defense. And they had the second number 2 defense. So the number 2 defense, a good quarterback, that's how you win a Super Bowl. And I've always said since that Super Bowl, that's why I say, that's the best Super Bowl, because I learned that Super Bowl because they had the number 1 defense. Their offense was, you still need a decent quarterback. So I always use at that Super Bowl, you don't need a quarterback. Rex Grossman was the best quarterback that year. He was carried by his defense. So anyway, I'll stop.
All right. Awesome. Anyone else have thoughts on that Super Bowl? That's the one that Brian Urlacher was in. That was the one that I believe it was Rex Grossman. I think what was the other guy's name? The other big quarterback. And I know Bebop said Cutler here, but I think they traded the other quarterback to Denver for Cutler.
That was a following year.
But he still played in that season, didn't he? Who was the backup? Who was that quarterback? It was I'm gonna have to Google it. But that was a really interesting season because Devin Hester, I believe that was the Super Bowl that he was the only player to return a kickoff for a Super Bowl, or
Yeah,
he just did it.
Okay. Okay. So Chicago's special teams got them there. Okay. Their special teams and their defense. Their offense wasn't, I mean, they scored points, but they weren't like anything fantastic. But their special teams
Mhm.
was fantastic, and that's what got them to the Super Bowl. We all remember that's the same team that Dennis Green, when he was with the Cardinals, had they are who we thought they were ran. Anyone remember that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's kind of a hard one to forget. It's like AI. Allen Iverson and the practice thing. That's like, oh, that's legendary. But yeah, that was Rex Grossman. I mean, he did okay his first couple years, but then the league had tape on him. He didn't adjust, and he wasn't good after that.
Mhm.
That's something I'm actually concerned with our young QBs about, but it's all yet to be seen.
Mhm. Yep.
What do you think, Steve-O? Do you got any thoughts on that Super Bowl?
I don't think Devin Hester he's not in the Hall of Fame, am I right?
No, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
What
I don't
does
think
that
so.
mean?
He might go to the Hall of Fame because he returned that kick in the end.
Yeah. So
in the Super
basically,
Bowl.
the rule is he retired in 2015. There's a 5-year window, so they wait 5 years before you're eligible. So in 2020, he became eligible. Yeah, and then Eli Manning, he still has several more years before he becomes
So-
eligible.
He's not in the Hall of Fame, so
Mhm.
that says something.
So did you guys see that video of our QB training at TCU?
Oh, I saw that the one with Trey Lance, right?
Yeah, I got an inside source actually checking on that to see if he's there right now. So hopefully they get back to me while we're still alive.
But he's not clear. But he's not. Wait, but we don't know if he's cleared yet. Oh wait, we don't know if people are cleared till a month later because we keep shit so tight.
TCU.
Hey, I like not having a leaky shit, buddy. Because when it was leaky back in the Harbaugh days, that sucked.
It was like somebody said the other day, we don't know if Trey Lance is cleared yet. It was probably Ted, but I'm not gonna say his name. And he's like, it's like, dude, we didn't know fucking Trey Lance was cleared until a month later. So like, we're not playing tomorrow. So like, let's cut all that stuff. What's up, Bam Bam?
Hey, Lawrence.
Good
So
morning.
we're just going through it. I'm glad you're able to make
Hey,
it with
Lord.
us.
Bam, bam. What's up, Lawrence?
What's up, Lawrence?
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing this morning? Can y'all hear me okay?
Good.
My shit is fucked up, so I'm not. My apologies, Brian. Sorry. Okay.
You sound great.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, we
So
can
our
good
hear
next-
you.
morning, John Jay. Good morning, Steve,
Hey.
Corey, David, and of course Brian. I think I just heard. Uh-oh.
I can't see my glasses. Uh-oh.
I just noticed.
His glasses are not making it to the Hall of Fame, folks.
Corey, what's your thoughts before we move on? And then we'll jump to the next Super Bowl. We're talking Colts and
What's
Bears.
happening?
Colts and Bears. You know what? I don't remember the game. Sorry, I don't remember. It didn't excite me as much. I guess I can say
Nah.
for me to remember it.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. Lawrence, we'll start you out. Pittsburgh Steelers went to the Super Bowl in 2006 against those Seattle Seahawks. It was 21-10. Do you have any thoughts on that Super Bowl?
Pittsburgh won that Super Bowl, did they not?
Yeah, 21-10.
That Super Bowl.
That was
that
a
the catch in
two-touch
that
catch.
was, right. That was the catch, right, in the corner of the end zone.
I think
If
so.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Seattle wasn't ready for that. I don't think it's not. Like the team that we started to go up against, and they had I guess a prime Ben, Big Ben, and who caught that pass? Can anybody remember? Was it Santonio Holmes?
Antonio Holmes.
He was a bad boy. So Those are pretty much my thoughts. They had an outstanding defense that year, but they had a prime Big Ben, and I think that the Seahawks just really weren't ready for that smoke at that time.
I remember there was to cut go in front, but I remember there were some calls where the Seahawks got down there and something happened, and then there was some. Wish Joe was here right now because he'd probably be able to tell us, but there was some definitely questionable calls, and I don't think the Seahawks were ready for it, and they definitely aren't a big market team like Pittsburgh.
Play by play.
They were definitely. I think they were favored by the refs in that game.
Oh, I remember that game. That
McNiner, let's give McNiner the floor. What do you think, McNiner?
It was Jerome Bettis riding off into the sunset with a Super Bowl ring. It was a story for the NFL. And before Jerome Bettis actually announced his retirement during the season.
Detroit, right? It was Super Bowl in Detroit.
And but Jerome Bettis said, "I'm retiring during the season." The Steelers weren't even in playoff contention. Then all of a sudden they went out, they make the wild card, and they go all the way to the Super Bowl. What a great story. It kind of seems like, the whole fixing thing was going on there, but who's no evidence who's to say, right?
And I think that's what Dan Snyder has on the NFL is gambling.
You think he has proof of them fixing games?
Oh, that's a good point.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
What has Dan Snyder been accused of? Pretty much everything under the book. What has he not been accused of? What would bring the league down is gambling on the NFL, which players are doing. And I keep saying coaches are going to call this year, but you know what I mean? Like that might be something that he has on him. Right, and because then that would eliminate gambling.
All right, let's finish this little because I know everybody wants to talk about this one, and then we'll get right into that because I think that's a good. We don't have to go through all 50, 60 Super Bowls, right? So, John, what's your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seahawks? 21-10. I think everybody said it was Jerome Bettis last year, and they played in Detroit for the Super Bowl. And if I'm right, that was the game-saving tackle where Big Ben had to reach and catch somebody's cleat, or was that a playoff game? I can't remember. But he tackled. Was that? Go ahead, John.
That was a different game with the Steelers and the Cardinals.
Okay.
But
the Steelers Cardinals, okay. Yeah. So that was
so was Steelers Cardinal. That was that big was that the Bus's last game in 2009?
No. The one that we're talking about, the Seahawks and the Steelers, that was his last game.
Okay. So the 2006 Jerome Bettis retired in 2006.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jerome Bettis was from Detroit. He born and raised in Detroit. The Super Bowl was in Detroit. And I was watching that game with a bunch of friends, a bunch of people who I knew, and a lot of people were like, "I'm gonna tell you something. The Steelers are gonna win this game because the significance, Jerome Bettis, and Big Ben did not cross the line. His helmet crossed the line. The football was at the 1 yard line. They wrote it a touchdown. They reviewed it. After that game just went downhill. It was an unwatchable game. And Hines Ward was the only offense. He caught 5 passes, 86 yards, a touchdown. He threw a touchdown. It was an unwatchable game. It was boring. A wide receiver. I don't know if a wide receiver ever won the Super Bowl MVP because Ben Roethlisberger was horrible that game. Both teams, weren't doing so well. And the Seahawks, they just quit after that call. That's why it was 21-10, and people call it one of the most they call it one of the most controversial and one of the most corrupt on team. That's why people do not like that Super Bowl. I don't like that Super Bowl, but what McNiner said makes a lot of sense. It was significant for Bus to win it there because that's where he was from. So if that's the case, that now I understand why the game, and I still don't watch the replay of that game. I always skip through it and watch the other Super Bowls, but I cannot watch that game. That was the biggest cheat. Like if you watch the replay, the ball is on his chest at the 1 yard line. His helmet crosses the plane. How was that a touchdown?
I have an update from my source at TCU. Trey Lance is there training. The police actually have the whole area closed off.
Shout out to Trey Lance.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Jerry Rice won the MVP in the Super Bowl.
Right.
What up, Dame? What up, Eric? Yeah, Jerry Rice won the MVP, and I knew they had one in the 1989 Super Bowl, January 22nd, 1989. So I think he's the only. You were right though, John. I think he's the only one ever who, and it wasn't because he was throwing passes and all that other kind of crap. You know what I mean?
Corey, what's your thoughts on the Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl? Was it rigged? I think you're muted. Yep, you're muted.
Sorry, I forgot. I muted because my phone started ringing. Yeah, I think on Steelers, that game was rigged to me because the man didn't cross the line. He didn't get the ball in his zone. John James Wright, the ball was on his shoulder, chest, not in the head. They on his head, only got across the end zone. And the referees gave it a touchdown. And on the third.
Sure.
And I was like, man. But I was happy, though, because I didn't want the Seahawks to win. I was happy, though, the Steelers won, but, I said, that's wrong, though. Giving that man a touchdown, he wasn't even across the line. But I was happy that Steelers won. I was rooting for Steelers to win. Because I didn't want the Seahawks to win. Even though my brother-in-law, I knew he was going to rub it in my face about it. Steelers winning. But I just couldn't see Seattle winning. I didn't like Seattle.
Fellas, can I ask you guys, what year was that again? What year was that Super Bowl?
2006. 2006, 2007. So it was the game-saving tackle that I was talking about, and it was in the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers were playing the Colts, and the Colts were like 14-2 that season. And he got down there to the end zone and he fumbled, and Big Ben had to tackle somebody by their shoestrings. He tackled him, and then the Colts went down the field. They tried to kick a field goal and they missed. And because Big Ben tackled somebody, he got the Steelers and Big Ben and the bus. He rode the bus to the Super Bowl. So it was 2006. Now I don't know if that was the year that he retired, but I believe it was. And then the next Super Bowl the Steelers went to was the Cardinals. And I'm glad, they beat the Seahawks for us and they beat the Cardinals for us. I can't be more happier than that. But I'm not happy they got rings, but at least our other teams didn't get rings, right? And one time we were the only team with 5, and then we were just with the Dallas Cowboys, and then everybody just started getting crazy. So, all right, so let's get into that. Steve-O, you want to talk about that Super Bowl, or do you want to get into it? So, what's that?
No, I mean, the guy's name was Bus for a reason. My dog, I got a lot of action going on outside my house right now. So, he was the Bus. He deserved one. Big Ben, let's just say he crossed the line more than once. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's a good point. All right, so I liked what we were just talking about with the Snyder, and if you guys want to talk about it for a few minutes, we can go into it. We won't take too long on it. Let's go around the table. How dirty, how explosive, what's your guys' fear it's going to happen to Daniel Snyder and the NFL league? And I really I gotta tell you, I think he is going to open this can of worms completely wide open. I think that Super Bowl where the Raiders and the Buccaneers had, I think that was one of the first things that's going to be exposed. How Bill Calhoun, it was Bill. I don't know I can't think of his last name, but he was the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, became the head coach. He changed the playbook in that Super Bowl like 2 days before the game happened, made his center go crazy, and they totally changed the Raiders from a passing team, from a running team to a passing team or vice versa. And it would just totally, and how come, Gruden standing over there on the sidelines knows exactly what play is going to be called exactly at the moment. So I'm sure there was a lot of players that got Super Bowls and they deserve it. John Lynch got a Super Bowl. There's a lot of good players there, and I'm not trying to take anything away from people, but you go to play and you hope the game is fair. And at this point, we're seeing it. It's coming out more and more that these games are not fair, and they're making it where it's not fair. I think the latest dagger to us was that NFC Championship game. You're going to tell me that there's that many cameras in the office or in New York City, and they can't review it fast enough to tell us that there is somebody who dropped that ball? I'll sit there and watch the game during the weekend for them. If they need me to monitor the television, I'll work. I'll take one for the team or something like that. I'm sure they pay better than what I pay. I get paid. So you're telling me there's not enough TVs? How many TVs got destroyed in Dallas? Can we just take one of those TVs from one of those fans in Dallas and put it up in that that room for another person to sit there and see a different angle? And you're telling me we're in the year 2023 and we don't have cameras all the way around the stadium? Or we don't have a sensor on the ball that shows like where it crossed the goal line, or there's so much. I'm starting to really believe. Did we really go to the moon, guys? So with that, I'm going to pass it to Lawrence. Lawrence, what do you think? Are we getting into a potential explosion where this league is just going to like explode on themselves or implode because of Daniel Snyder?
I think first of all, you were just spitting hot fire right now, Brian. So that's first and foremost. Preach. And I kind of agree with you. It's starting to get to a point, I think, in the NFL where we can't. I'm not going to deny that some things are a little fishy. I'll just say it like that. And that was an excellent point that you made. Not just as the biased SOB that I am in that game. Even though Talanoa apparently wasn't fast enough to see it, somebody sitting objectively away from the game with a TV right there should be able to. Well, the TVs that you said in Dallas, and no one did that. So it was like that play just didn't happen. And then when this kid, who's if you really want to break things down, about as quiet as a mouse usually, gets up and he's the most demonstrative player that I've ever seen after one play, telling them to get up to the lines because he knew he didn't catch that ball. Everyone knew he didn't catch that ball, except for who needed to know that he didn't catch that ball. Unless they also knew that he didn't catch the ball and it didn't matter because it was set even before Brock got hurt. Or was that after Brock got hurt? In any event, it was set to be, maybe Philly and Kansas City in the NFL's mind. Like I've said in a lot of different spaces and areas, and I think a lot of us have said, there's a bias from the East Coast against our team. So that, not only just with the media, but I think for the NFL themselves. So that's bad enough as it is. So I agree with you completely. It's starting to get very, very fishy across the NFL with some of the things that happen. And it didn't just start. And now we have Chucky saying that he's going to blow the roof off the league and the top off the league. I would have to say, especially if it's having anything to do with Daniel Snyder, what else could there be? Unless unless it's the cocaine palace there, I would say it's probably something to do with gambling and unfair practices.
Very nicely said. Mr. McNiner, what are your thoughts? How bad is this going to get? The way I understood it before the Friday night show, because I had kind of read a little bit of stories about it, and I think the Pat McAfee show had touched a little bit about this. They are saying, and they are reporting or claiming that Daniel Snyder has things that he is going to slowly start leaking out if the NFL keeps pushing and pushing on him. He is going to take his time. He is going to do it his way. And if they continue to push, they're not going to like his pushback. So what is your thoughts on the whole situation? Are we looking at a whole audit? Yes.
I honestly think that Daniel Snyder probably has enough sauce to make the NFL an absolute mess. You know, and them, they've been trying to push him out for a long time, but yet they haven't been able to. And now didn't he actually sell the team? Didn't that happen? And
I'm
he's
not
going to be.
I'm not sure what all the contract or all the details is, but there's some finalizing that hasn't been done yet. But he is supposed to be turning over the team to another person. I'm not sure how happy he is or if they can cancel that, but that's what I understand too, is they are in process of turning the team over.
And I honestly believe that if he's going to start leaking info and we're going to start seeing things, it's going to happen right around the time he turns the team over.
Yeah.
Because then, he's not associated with the league anymore.
Yeah, because I think when you're saying, and I agree, if he opens his mouth, he's not coming back. He doesn't care if there's anything to come back to. So I think we're playing with a madman, a madman who has a lot of bombs. John Jay, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, Dan Snyder, as I said on Ryan, he's a shark. Okay, he's a shark, and he is who he is. I don't think he has any. I don't think he cares about his fans. I don't think he cares about the management group, the people who invest money into the team. He doesn't care about the league. We all know, all the issues, how he treated the female employees, the executives, and of course the cheerleaders. He's a shark. Okay. So I'm not surprised, that he says, I have information and I'm gonna leak it no matter what, blah, 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 blah. He's a shark. I want him out of the league. I'm not a Commanders fan. I don't care about the Commanders. I do feel that they need an owner who actually cares about the fan base, cares about the shareholders, cares about running a team to compete with the Giants, Eagles, and the Cowboys, and try to make that team what it used to be in the late 80s, early 90s. Now, the NFL, if anyone has ever, I went to a thing called a Catholic school, and they taught us this thing where there was a guy who washed his hands, and basically he washed his hands, and for those who have been to a religious school like I did, it's basically saying I'm gonna wash away all my sins and blame it on somebody else. The point is, the NFL, they're also washing their hands, yada yada. And I just think that Dan Snyder is just saying, I got leverage. I may have something, I may not. I may have something, I may not. But I want you to realize I'm selling the team. I want to do it my way. You NFL can, and the NFL, again, they got a lot of bones and secrets, yada, yada. And again, the NFL, they have done a lot of bad stuff, and it's out in the open. It's not like they're covering. There are a bunch of stuff that you can go back since 2006, since the league was turned over from Tagliabue to Roger Goodell. So at the end of the day, I have no sympathy for Roger Goodell. The owners, if I'm the owners and you're like, dude, Roger Goodell and this dude, we got to do something. If the owners have power, and I've been saying this for the past year, I don't think the owners have any power anymore. I think Goodell is like a person, I'm in charge. You all can go, go F yourself. And that's why I don't like the direction of the NFL. Look at all the rules that they're doing. They're destroying the game. And if Snyder does have something, again, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. I'm not going to cry if there's any bad things about the Niners. I know there's a bunch of bad things about the Niners organization. But at the end of the day, the NFL did this to themselves, and they either are going to do what any type of powerful person, here's money, shut up, go away. That's how I look at this.
All right. Love it, John. Love really do. Definitely agree. There's going to be something that's has to change, because they are changing the sport that we were watching in the 90s, and I'm sure people in the 70s are saying it's a different game in the 90s than it was in their era. But I don't think from 1950s to 1980s there was too much difference, and I don't think really between the 80s and the 90s or early 2000s there was much difference. I think it all changed after that boy, Tom Brady. I guess you can say he's a man. He's got more rings than I do and ever will. And I'm happy with just the one I got. But after that tuck rule, and I think that's going to get exposed too. I really truly think, and so I'm a little excited to see what's going to be happening, because I think you guys have all heard me be passionate about this. Why is John Gruden's emails the only ones that was leaked? What did Jed York say? That's what I want to know. What did John York say? I want to know. Corey, what do you want to know? What do you guys say?
Let me see. So we're talking about the Commanders owner and the
we're talking about the Commanders owner. Yeah, him exposing the league and what's going to happen if he opens up this can.
It might destroy the NFL. It might make more changes come to the NFL. You know, and this is crazy that this stuff is going on, and stuff that, see, this wouldn't probably be happening. We wouldn't know nothing about this stuff if it wasn't for social media. You know, it'd probably be like we would know this going on. I just read them get back to football, let the players play, stop doing all these little sit-up things. And if the referees make a mistake and messed up, I'll penalize them too. You know, say, oh, you didn't do this. This is why we take this money, because it looks like you was right there. You should call the play. Just like that, I can't blame it on Cal all the way about the Philadelphia game. The referees should have seen it too. So why he's going up fast? Why they run up fast?
Right.
Why they trying to snap the ball fast? Something wrong. Something we missed. Let's stop and look ahead. Look at this. Let's call a timeout and take a look at this play. I won't call it a history play. If the coach is not, I'm doing it. If the referees couldn't do it, they should make that rule that the referees can stop and challenge a play. That's what I believe.
So would you be in favor of them having where, I think they do this in college, if it's a big play and at any time the refs can just go and look over the view and make sure everything got taken care of, everything, it sure will stop the game. People have to wait longer, momentum might shift, or, defenses can adjust and stuff like that. So I see the advantages of not doing it pro teams, but for our case, in our situation, and maybe if we won this game and it would have been on us, side like Philly, we would not be saying this. But I kind of still think that if the referees, and what your point I think is beautiful, if the referees are allowed to pause the game and go and review the play, then we don't have to challenge. Now, if they decide not to challenge the play and not to pause, we still have the ability to say, hey, can you go look at that? I'm really not happy with, looking at it and stuff. Now go challenge it. And they'll be like, all right, we're going to go look. Oh, we messed up, and then boom, keep it the same way. Then we can have additional third challenge. Or why don't we just get 3 challenges all together, and just quit playing this. Oh, if you win 2 challenges, you get a third challenge. Or, how come the challenges aren't carrying over? Like, I didn't use 3 challenges last game. Can I use one this year? I got 1 left. I don't get that. Steve-O, what's your thoughts?
Exactly, 1 for 1. If you get a challenge and you make it, get it back. Why is it 2? You know what I mean? Like, you get 1 for 1. What's the problem with that? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I just don't see it. So Well, guys, does anybody have any other final thoughts on today's conversation and today's morning discussion? I hope everybody had fun coming in with a cup of coffee or something good to drink. I like coming in and talking. I love everybody being here. We have a great panel. Everybody in the chat, you guys are awesome. We really appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed to the guys on my panel, I got a lot of great guys here. Every one of us have a channel. Every one of us, even Steve-O up here, he does these short clips. He does all kinds of fun stuff. And, Lawrence down here, Platform 246, great guy. David McNiner, my co-host. John Jay, 49ers Ultimate Report. If you have not seen his channel, I don't know where you've been. This guy's been doing it for almost 3 years now, right, John?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's dedication. It's hard to grind like that. I'm the rookie in the bunch. So we got Corey up here, Lockdown Corey Davis, which will have a trivia show tonight. And he'll be revealing the results from last Thursday night's show, I believe. So, guys, I really do appreciate everybody coming. And I'm going to jump out. I'm going to go do a little bit more overtime for today. I'm going to finish up some stuff with my job. Sometimes when you get overtime, you take it, right? So, does anybody... Yeah, exactly. Does anybody have any final thoughts they want to say about their shows or anything that's coming up? Me and David, we have a special guest on for tomorrow night, and we're not going to reveal. We're not letting you know. So you got to show up. And it's going to be pretty cool. It's somebody we all know, and who's been doing it for a long time as well. And we're gonna have a lot of fun. So
I know who it is.
Who is it? Who is it, Corey? Is that Lawrence? Or is it?
It's a mystery guest.
It's a mystery guest, but I know who it is.
The problem is, when I get home, I got
Niners sickness. No.
I got 6 hours on my way home.
Corey revealed it.
Let me ask you guys, because McNiner, you mentioned something yesterday about East Coast bias, and I started thinking about it. And I was like, there's a pretty, just like the Cowboys, they're a hot team. They get covered in the media fairly well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm looking at the Niners team as far as Roger Craig being a Hall of Famer, and I'm like, well, how many people on that team were better than him? And I'm looking at like 6 guys that were better than him. You know what I mean? I don't need to name them, but do you get where you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a flashy guy, like a TO guy, but you had about 6 guys that were better than him on the team, right? You get what I'm saying, or do I have to explain it?
Lawrence, you want to touch on this? Because I think you guys are wanted to talk to each other about this situation. I personally think Roger Craig was a offensive weapon. He was our Swiss Army knife during the 8 years he played on our team. 3-time Super Bowl champion, three touchdowns and 1 Super Bowl, first 1,000 career rushing and receiving back. He really was a gadget player. But yeah, there was some times where he fumbled, or there was some times that something happened, but we had such a great team, so it's really hard to say he was the reason or like the key component that turned. It kind of goes back to I'm a 3rd string quarterback, so I understand, but I'm also a kicker. I'm a kicker at heart. But the quarterback, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, whoever's the quarterback under center gets the ball in their hand every play. Almost every play of the game. They're the ones snapping getting the ball, hand it to them. And if it's not, it's going to be some trick play, right? So if it's trick play, you better have everything dotted and crossed off. It better work, because if it doesn't, then you should be snapping that ball to that quarterback. That quarterback's ball, his job is to deliver the ball to where it's supposed to go. Hand off, or that's why he's the quarterback and you have a center. They're supposed to be buddies. If they're not buddies, then that's my thoughts. Let's give it to Lawrence. Lawrence, what's your thoughts on the whole? Because you weren't able to jump in. We seen you in the chat, but the whole Roger Craig situation. Out of the 4 coaches, the 3 coaches we had yesterday, who would you sit out? And any of your thoughts? We have time. We don't have to rush off.
I would probably keep, maybe even biased. I would keep probably Holmgren out. If I believe he only has 1 Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, as a head coach. And he had all that time with Favreau Favre, all those different ways you want to mess his name up, or I like to mess his name up.
Favre.
Yeah, Favre. I would probably keep him out. I would put in Roger Craig because, as I said before, he was the first 2000 running. You know what I'm saying? And that ended up being something today. It's in 2023 in freaking July. Everybody wants all the Niner fans, all just us, our own fan base. Damn, the other 31 teams. We're all saying next year, guess what? Christian's going to do 1-1. He's going to get a grand and a grand. We're all saying that right now. And the first person to do that, the first person to make that a possibility was Roger Craig. He was a Swiss, like you said, a Swiss Army knife. We had you have to really, 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 really be good to get into the Hall of Fame, I think. And I don't think anyone should just be allowed to get in because you put in a certain amount of time or you put a certain amount of years. But his statistics match up with other players that are in the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, him being an outlier at the running back position in the 80s and 90s, I think we get him in now 40 plus years, after he first touched or around there, after he first touched the field. So, yeah, I think he deserves it.
All right. Steve-O, did you want to say anything else, or did anybody else want to have a rebuttal to that? I think the guy definitely deserves in. I think there's been some reasons he's been held out. I can't vote for him. I definitely vote for him. But again, I was in diapers when he fumbled. Some of those people, maybe they bet a lot of money on that game. Maybe that's, will be revealed with the Daniel Snyder, thing. I mean, there's a lot of issues with him not being in, and we all touched bases on it too. Like TD, Terrell Davis, 2 Super Bowls, MVP. The guy couldn't see, but he didn't fumble either in that game. So it's one of those things. It's like, I'm a 49er fan, and I know it makes people upset to say the guy fumbled, but he did. And a lot of people blame him on the three-peat. And Corey said it beautifully. Social media. If social media was back then, that would have been horrible. There was death threats to Kyle Williams. There's been death threats to a lot of play. Even our running back, Mostert. They were attacking the man's family. Yeah. They were attacking his wife and stuff. And I tell you what, you guys come after my family, that ain't cool. You don't go after someone's family, and you don't know these people personally. And even if you did, it's a game. Sure, it's their job, but it's a game. Accidents happen and things happen. And, we want to root for them to do good. We want to root for the glory and stuff. But if you can't handle the pain, then maybe you shouldn't be cutting in the kitchen with a knife. Maybe you should get out, because sometimes the kitchen gets hot. But remember, dessert comes out of the kitchen too. So if you can't deal with it, don't enjoy that's where it is, right? It's like the Niners have went to 5 Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. We've went to more NFC championship games than any other team, I believe. We've lost more than any other team, I believe, as well. Yep. So, you can't have glory without, sometimes saying, man, next year. And I think if you guys have all seen my shirt, I wear it quite a bit. It says 49ers Super Bowl next year. That's because that's what we're doing. Every year we're going to the Super Bowl.
Every year.
Every year.
Preach.
So. All right, John Jay, what you got going on, man? I know you're over there. Do you got anything else on your docket for today?
Oh, you asked about me and then you skipped over me? All right, that's cool.
Let's see. What am I doing
today? Coming back to you, Bubba.
What am I doing today? I'm just gonna rest up because I got a busy week up ahead with work. I'm doing something new on a new platform. It's called let me show you. There's this new channel. I'm gonna start collaborating with a lot of people, with other fan bases because they've been asking me. They want me to do wrestling stuff, baseball, basketball, and of course I love all the Bay Area teams, and I also want to do, boxing. Last night there was a good boxing fight. I didn't do that, but we're gonna talk about the Dan Snyder. I got CarCast coming up, so it's gonna be fun. I got Rob. He's a good dude. He's from, I think, the East Coast. He loves the Eagles. He's a good guy, and just working on creating some good stuff. I'm gonna incorporate my stuff on my channel, on this channel as well, and people are welcome to join. Like if people want to do something a little bit different, because we just don't just always talk about the Niners. We have other stuff. So this is a good way for you guys to get to know me and all the good people I know. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. I'm still working on the final details, but and then of course during the week, I got my podcast, Niners All Damn Day, and once the season starts, I'll be posting regularly like I used to do. But that's all that's going on with me. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, always. It's fun. Sometimes, I get caught up in the morning, not everything gets sent, and then I'm all thumbs some mornings. I can't do everything, but I appreciate you coming on this morning. Steve-O, never can forget about you. Appreciate you coming in. Your final thoughts, and then we're going to just jump out of here because I got to go. Corey, we kind of, talked about what you got going on, and I will be there tonight, as always. Everybody, please check out Platform 246, but Steve-O, dude, you got the final thoughts before we all say F the Lambs.
I'll agree. F the Lambs. Sorry.
All right. Guys, with that, thank you all for coming. It's a great show. Saturday and Sunday.
I'm live tonight, 7:00, if y'all want to come through. Anybody wants to come through, I'm live tonight, you guys.
I will try to pop in the chat, but I'll be probably live with Corey because I think that's his trivia results time. But I'll try to pop in your chat.
But I'll pop in y'all's too. And thank you for the seat, bro.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Anytime, everyone, you're always welcome. Anyone in the chat as well, if you ever want to jump in, just please, let us know. We'll try to get you in. Sometimes we have different people coming, so we have to keep seats for people. But you ever want to do something, just let us know, and we'll get around to you. And thank you. Please subscribe to everybody here. And like we said, go Niners.
Go Niners and F the Lamb.
Yep.
Go Niners and F all the other teams.
All 31.
Yeah, F all those teams.